Garg. I work for NISM and National Center for Financial Education. On behalf of NISM and NCFE, I welcome all of you in this, I would say, second edition of Policy Forum. As you recall, last year we had this with the, I would say, partnership of Durham University and the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. And I'm very glad to say that our association with Durham University has really been very, very rewarding. And I'm very glad that Professor Balan is here and we have Kamlesh here on behalf of the university. I'm also very, very grateful to some of the most distinguished guests. We are the Chief of Srinivasan Securities Commission as well as Executive Director from the Securities Commission of Bangladesh. We welcome our guests from, I'll say, across the border and guests from UK, apart from the guests who have come from all parts of the country. And if I can say truly from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, we have guests here. So thank you everyone, and it's really a privilege to host you here in this campus, which we feel that is now becoming a center for new idea in the area of financial literacy and financial inclusion. And as you know, ours is a institute which started as an institute for the security markets, but after setting up of the National Center for Financial Education, a lot of work has been done in the area of financial education and financial inclusion, because this initiative is on behalf of all financial sector regulators. Rarely you see, sometimes we see across the globe, I think there are very few countries we have institutions like National Center for Financial Education, which is joint initiative of all financial sector regulators. So this is on behalf of Reserve Bank, SEBI, IRDAI and PFRDA, and I am very glad to say that the representatives of all the securities regulators are also here. So I am very sure that these 2 days will be very, very fruitful and very rewarding, not only to understand that what is happening in the area of financial education and inclusion, and what is future direction, where we should move from here. Because in this forum is where you can actually hear the academicians who speak their mind. So this is not the forum where academicians keep anything they hold back. They share with us even if regulators are not doing something correctly. This is the forum they tell us that these are our findings. We as a regulator may have our different opinion or our different views, but they actually sometimes show us the mirror that this is where you stand. So I hope that we all regulators are prepared to see the mirror. I hope they will show the mirror very clearly, because and we will be really be delighted to have the guidance from them. I'm very pleased and privileged to for the welcome address invite Mr. Sandeep Ghosh, Director NISM. Mr. Ghosh actually doesn't require any formal introduction. Just to say that what NISM is today is the vision of Mr. Ghosh in last 5 years. And if, to be honest with him, he is not the director of just one institute, because within the NISM we have 6 schools and National Center for Financial Education. So you can see just basic of financial literacy to corporate governance to the certifications to policy research, what not we do in the this institute. So it's my privilege to invite Mr. Sandeep Ghosh, Director NISM, for his welcome address. Mr. Sandeep Ghosh.
So let me also formally welcome you to NISM. As you are aware, NISM is an institute floated by the Securities Market Regulator, but we do work in all the space of financial markets. And NCFE is one of those areas which allows us to work comfortably with all the 4 major financial sector regulators. India is one of the few countries which has 4 financial sector regulators. Otherwise, by and large, most of the other countries, the insurance and pension regulation is by and large with the securities market regulator. And we are one of those countries because the size is big, the population is huge. We have 4 specific regulators for banks, insurance, capital market, and the pension. Another reason for it is that around 230 million people are above 60 years of age, and half the population is below the age of 25. The asset under management which grew in last 1 year, you will be surprised that 50% of that came from the millennials in the age group of 25 and 35. So there is a change in the asset preference which the younger generation is showing, and they are no more going by that default that you have to keep money in the fixed deposits. There are other means of investments and people are preferring to, and there is a reason for it. When we became independent, our longevity was in the 30s, 35, 36 was our longevity. Today it is 66 and growing. The younger colleagues who are sitting here, whether they like it or not, will live to the age of 95 or 100. And I was mentioning to them that worries will not allow you to live comfortably and medicines will not allow you to die. So we are in this midst today where life has actually become difficult. And one of the key things which comes out in this difficult era is, are we doing reasonable amount of financial planning to be able to ride those 30-40 years which we will have to live beyond a formal employment. And that's a big question. It's a different thing that when I talk to younger people, they say that I'm not thinking about retirement. And I tell them that NISL does a program which is known as the first paycheck. And the first paycheck actually tells you that you have to start planning retirement on the day you get your first paycheck. Otherwise, you cannot plan your retirement if you have not planned with them. Most of the younger people feel that I can sit in cafe coffee day and keep on imagining that something more will happen over a cup of coffee. Unfortunately, it does not. India also, like most of the other countries, after the financial crisis, global financial crisis, went into the cycle of creating a national strategy for financial education. And to drive that strategy, you needed a center. And that is why NCFE, the National Center for Financial Education, was set up just to drive the national strategy of financial education. The role of NCFE is to spread basic financial education across the different segments of society in India. Like 20th century, all of us were struggling to get into basic education. 21st century, most of the countries are struggling to get into basic financial education. And it's not easy. We are working with the different boards. In India, we have different boards. And we are working with them and trying to tell them that it is a life skill and it should be part of the curriculum. At least financial awareness messages should be part of the school curriculum. Now, they are also always in a quagmire because the traffic police wants that part to be put into the curriculum. Environmental people want that part to be put into the curriculum. Water pollution people want that to be put into the curriculum. And it is becoming difficult to compete with yoga, GST and whatnot.
And many more to come.
And many more to come. So, there was a reasonable push to include yoga and GST into the curriculum. But what do you do with GST if you don't understand basic financial education? So we do a lot of work with schools, colleges, with different groups of people across the country, housewives. I don't know how many of you saw The Wizard of Lies. It's a new movie. If you have not seen it, please see it, at least for Robert De Niro and Michelle Pfeiffer. Both of them are very popular actresses. And it's the story of Mr. Madoff, one of the richest guys in the financial markets, used to chair the commission and whatnot. Any area of financial markets used to chair, was a filthy rich person. 54 years of marriage. Wife did not know what was the work husband was doing. And the day he gets caught, the whole family collapses on that day. Some of you who are my age, I can assure you their wives also don't know what you do. And where you keep your money, what are the fixed deposits or other assets you have. Please see The Wizard of Lies and share it as much as possible with them. My colleague from SEBI, Jiten Kumar, was there in Bangladesh few days ago, and he was talking to the people in general. But Dhirubhai Ambani, one of the wizards in the industrial sector, can you imagine he did not have a will? And the younger fellow still feels his father was not just to him. Rajesh Khanna, one of the superstars of the Indian film world. Vijay Singhania, another industrialist, gave away everything to the son and now he's staying in a hotel. The son doesn't recognize what the father is. So I can give you any number of such stories. But the fact is, are we ready to work on those stories or not? When we do the first paycheck, we tell people that if on the day of retirement, even a thought comes to your mind that from tomorrow, I have to be slightly careful with my spending, means you have not planned your retirement well. You should have at least 1.5 times your last pay to be able to live comfortably during your retired life. How many of us can do that? The fact is, you can do it provided you want it, provided you are thinking about it, provided you are ready not to negotiate with that bhaji fellow about potato and tomatoes and get 25 paisa off, asking 20 type of things. Is it fresh? Where has it come from? Is the onion from Nasik or Timbuktu? And waste his time and your time. But when you buy a financial product, somebody tells you, sir, I marked the process, you have to just sign there. And that's how we pick up financial products in the market.
And many times we say we are graduates.
Why graduates? We are doctors. So if you throw a stone in India, you will hit an engineer or an engineer. So graduates is no more a qualification. So the general desire of NCFE has been from day one how you can work with the financial sector regulators. And I must say that the support has been tremendous. Today we do a huge amount of work, and tomorrow, just now, Mr. Garg will tell you about NCFE's work, which has happened in the last 5 years. The whole gamut of activities which NCFE does in connecting with people. And we still feel it's not enough. Every year you connect with approximately 10 lakh people. But still it's not enough. And then you work with different people, different NGOs, different groups to try to see that this connect can multiply. We normally try to work with multipliers. It may be a principal of a school, it may be a teacher, because they have a larger connect with the society. One teacher can influence 500 students. One principal of a big school can influence 5,000 to 7,000 students of her or his school. And we do a principal's conclave every now and then. One is due early February. where we would get around 100 principals and talk to them and tell them that what is the importance. And we don't have to tell them anything. They have to just bring 2-3 principals onto the dais, request them to tell them what is their financial savings and plan. And suddenly they feel that a visit to Siddhivinayak can take care of it. So it does. But believe me, you cannot be a part-time devotee of a full-time God. That whenever you are in trouble, you start looking at God. So you have to be a full-time devotee of a full-time God. You can't be a part-time devotee of a full-time God. And financial planning is life skill. Financial planning is for livelihood. That is why NCFE has a mission. Financial literacy leads to financial inclusion, and financial inclusion leads to financial freedom. That's what we sincerely believe in, and the whole NISM works towards it with the support of the financial sector regulators. So this 1.5 day session which we have with you, this is our second policy forum. Dharam and IIM Ahmedabad work closely with us. IIM Ahmedabad could not come because currently they are without a director. Unfortunately, the director who was with us has stepped down, and they are still, but they would like to associate, but they were not on board, so we did not have them as collaborators, but we would like to have them because last survey which we did, they were an active part of that last survey. And Dharam, of course, has been Professor Anurag Banerjee, Kamlesh, the research scholar, Professor Dennis Philip, who has not been able to join us, but has been Skyping on an ongoing basis to ensure that the policy forum becomes what it is. This year we are privileged to have the chair of the Securities Exchange Commission, Sri Lanka, and the senior executive director from the from the Securities Exchange Commission of Bangladesh, who are also working in this space in a big way, and tomorrow would be doing the country experience sharing with you. This time we also decided to have one panel of people who are principals in the space of capacity building and training. So we have the director of NIBM, Mr. Ingra is here with us. We have the additional director of CAFRL who is here with us, and we have the director of IIDF, which is a certifying body in the banking sector. The director of NIA could not come because of some personal reasons, but he was also very keen to attend the forum. Why do we have this panel? We have this panel because today we have the content. Today we have financial resources. I don't know how many of you, when I was giving you the example of Dhirubhai Ambani, I should have told you that RBI has an account known as DEF, Depositors Education Awareness Fund. This is 14,000 crores and multiplied, or close to that. And this is only the unclaimed deposits which were lying with the public sector banks. There is a huge amount of unclaimed deposits lying with the private sector banks and with the corporate bodies. Ministry of Corporate Affairs uses some of them, or at least the interest of some of them, to do investor awareness programs. Similarly, the Reserve Bank uses interest of this amount to work with the top NGOs in the country to spread depositors' awareness in the market. So it's not a small thing. The only thing is we have put blinkers in front of our eyes and we are not ready to, we feel that with time things will happen and everything will be hunky-dory. It will not be. Life would be difficult. One visit to the hospital will wipe off all your savings in one go. I told you medicines will not allow you to die. So you have to be careful, you have to plan well. And I would request through this policy forum that wherever we can, we should work towards imparting basic financial education to the schools, to the colleges, to the young professionals, to the housewives, to the SHG groups. We have with us chairman of one of our Grameen banks from Kerala, and he is going to share his experience about what he is doing. Because he is doing great work, we thought if he comes and shares this experience as a part of the policy forum, it would be nice. Tomorrow we have somebody from FinTech. He is the managing director and the research director of Accenture, who works in the space of FinTech, digital and technology in trying to transform whatever is there in society. We are lucky to be living in the 21st century where science fiction is becoming fact. Whatever you thought of, driverless cars, virtual reality through the Google Glass, 3D printing sitting at home. But what we are doing, we are making plastic guns which are equivalent to the best pistols available, and the plastic cannot be deciphered by the scanners. We didn't know Uber will come and life would become different. All of us were very comfortable with the Kali. And suddenly now you can just move some fingers on your mobile and you have a cab coming for you. It's like P.G. Woodhouse's jeans, that you ask for it and you get it. And anybody who says this cannot be done will be surprised that somebody is already doing it. So we are living in a very different world. 20th century we were learning to read. 21st century we are reading to learn. If you don't read, you cannot learn. World is changing with such fast pace. So we thought we could have the managing director of Accenture to come and share his experience. He is also the Eisenhower Fellow for 2017. Only one person selected in India as an Eisenhower Fellow, who had the privilege of moving with global leaders for the last 3 months across the world. And I have requested him to share some of his experience as to what is happening in the global world. Education is like climbing a mountain. The higher you climb, the more things you can see. So the more you are educated in the sense of education, you can see whatever you want to see. We also have one very strong person to talk about women and financial literacy, Chetna Galasana. Many of you may not know, this year she is the vice chair for the Global Economic Forum in Davos, just next to Christian Lagarde. She is the chair of the women issues and Chetna is the vice chair. She runs a small bank, Mandeshi Bank, and also runs out of Satara a rural business management institute. This business management institute does not deal with books. It teaches you how to do business. If you want to do a particular business, it teaches you how to do business. It's a very small place. Satara is a difficult place in Maharashtra, and people from different parts of the world come for internship, whether it is Ford Foundation or anybody. They come for internship to Mandeshi Bank to just learn what is the model of rural business. So we have an interesting time, and I would request you to take the best of it. A principal thing which we introduced in the second policy forum is also the presentation of some papers by our researchers from different fields. We have 3 papers and 3 early ideas, or 2 early ideas. To listen to them and develop them over time. We also have a paper from Durham which Anurag would be doing. And I would request you to treat this space as a home away from home. Enjoy the facilities which NISM has. And tell us how we can go forward. Give us more ideas. let this forum not be your only association with NISM. Write to us, give us details what you want about NISM, and we should be able to take it forward from there. Let me introduce you to the next panel which we have, and this is an important panel. We have the regulators and NISM talking about what has happened in the space of financial education and literacy. So we have Mr. Srinivasan from RBI, we have Mr. Pularao from IRDA, both at very senior levels. And we have Mr. Garg to share to you as to what NCFE is doing, especially in the space of financial literacy and education. They hold charge of these departments and are responsible for spreading financial literacy and inclusion in the country. So it would be good to hear from them. Let me first invite Mr. Srinivasan, Deputy General Manager from Reserve Bank of India, who works in the financial development and inclusion department, and is the key person who deals with this subject on an ongoing basis. Mr. Srinivasan. I think it's best, since it's a panel and we want them to be speaking one after the other. Let me also invite Mr. Pularao to come from IRDA and take his place on the dais, and Mr. Garg from NCFE.
I'm happy to be here at the second policy forum on financial literacy and financial inclusion being organized by the NCFE in this very sprawling NISM campus. I remember being here last year, and it was just getting its finishing touches before the Prime Minister was to come here and inaugurate. And now when I come this time, I find it in full bloom. And I think that credit for this transformation, full credit should go to Mr. Sandeep Ghosh and his team. Of course, it will be supported by SIG. As you are all aware, NCFE found its roots through the combined efforts of all the four regulators, the RBI, SEBI, IRDA, and the PFRDA, and have been incubated in NISM. And I'm happy to inform that the NISM is going to, the NCFE is going to gain more prominence shortly with a larger mandate, as has been decided in the Financial Sector Development Council. And what we see is that presently every financial sector regulator, the four regulators whom I mentioned, they are involved in furthering the cause of financial literacy in the respective areas of influence. RBI has been able to do its bit through the financial literacy centers, around 1,200 literacy centers run by banks. Areas are targeted across regulators are the ones that are addressed through NCFE. A good example is the effort to introduce financial education as part of school curriculum, and the NFLAT, National Financial Assessment Test, by NCFE, which can be used to assess the financial literacy levels and can serve as an impact assessment tool for the efforts that are put in to further financial literacy in the country. And coming to the topic for the discussion today, I was told that whether I can speak on fostering financial literacy among youth and role of regulators. It set me thinking as to what kind of role can RBI and other regulators take on to address the financial literacy needs of this specified target group. Then I thought, then how do we define youth? So I, like we all do, I googled and I got many definitions. But then all of them had one common thread. and they were defining them in a particular age bracket. The United Nations, for statistical purposes, defines youth as those persons between the ages of 15 to 24. What was interesting to note was the rationale being given for this definition. It said youth is best understood as a period of transition from the dependence of childhood to adulthood's independence. That is why, as a category, youth is more fluid than other fixed age groups. Yet, age is the easiest way to define this group, particularly in relation to education and employment, because youth is often referred to as a person between the ages of leaving compulsory education and finding their first job. However, we have to be mindful of the fact that definition of youth perhaps changes with circumstances, especially with changing demographics, financial, economic, social, cultural settings. So, youth definition in India, then how it is defined for the country. Youth in India are defined as those aged 15 to 29 in the National Youth Policy. And India is expected to have 34.33% share of youth in its total population by 2020. Now that's a huge number, and then we cannot leave them unaddressed. And even in the world, India has the largest share of youth population and will continue to do so for the next 20 years. While this can be counted as a big boom for a developing country like us, it can also be a big challenge. Because we need to invest in them for good education, skill building, sufficient employment opportunities to make them the driving force of the economy. Recently we had conducted a financial literacy survey, as NISM had done it a few years back. That was in 2014. And using the OECD INFI toolkit, which is a standardized toolkit which is adopted across OECD countries, we estimated the financial literacy levels in India across various states through this standard toolkit. So what this standard toolkit allows us is that when we do this, we get to compare results with other countries and to know where we stand and where we need to improve. And broadly, it measures financial literacy across knowledge, behavior and attitude. So the thing is, it's a sad state of affairs that when we measured, we found that we are somewhere second from the bottommost among the 29 countries that participated. So that shows that we have a long way to go and there is a lot of effort that is required. No doubt the regulators are doing, and then combined efforts of NCFE is there. But then the country as a whole is such a large country, and then it will take decades for us to reach out. But then it's actually thinking as to how we can do this. And as Mr. Ghosh pointed out, the best way would be to use a multiplier effect. It is not that we can be present everywhere on our own. We need to use agencies who are already on the field, and we need to leverage on them in order to deliver this national mandate. And even among youth, when we measured financial literacy through this survey, we found that it was only slightly better than the all India average. So as such, the literacy levels of youth are not very much different from the average, even though it is slightly better. But one thing came out clearly was that we went in through some of the questions that youth, that youngest respondents in this category, in the age group of 18 to 29, they had this propensity to ask questions or to think more about before they bought the product. So this is something which means that they are thinking more and they would like to evaluate options before they make a purchase. This is something very important with respect to using financial products also. Worldwide, it is estimated that 10.6% of the youth are non-literate, lacking basic numerical reading skills, and as such lack the means to sustain living through full and decent employment. With youth unemployment and underemployment at very high levels, and many people lacking even primary level education, this will lead to not be able to do social inclusion, and this may also affect stability in the economy as such. That is why the FSDC, the Financial Development Council, also considers financial inclusion and financial literacy as very core to financial stability. And it is a permanent agenda in both the FSDC committees and the FSDC subcommittees. And then again, how do we address this youth? And then as you are aware, as I already mentioned, that the regulators do try to influence people who are in their ambit. But then the youth as defined by either the United Nations or the National Youth Policy do not directly come under the sphere of influence of the regulators, financial regulators. So how do we go about addressing this target group, particularly when they form 1/3 of the population? So I was trying to think of what would be the ways in which we could address these. And then I tried to analyze what are the efforts of various agencies in addressing problems of youth. And I find that the government has a lot of plans for addressing problems of youth. Just as financial regulators have come together to join forces to further the cause of financial literacy through NCFE, can we not partner with government agencies involved in youth affairs and use that platform to address the needs of the youth with respect to financial literacy? And I see a larger mandate for NCFE here. In many ways, it is similar to the efforts already being done by NCFE in trying to get the workbooks on financial education into the school curriculum by interaction with state education boards and also the CBSE and the ICSE, and also interactions with the Ministry of Human Resource Development. So what we need to do, I thought, was to expand our sphere of influence and to interact more with other government departments which are working for the betterment of youth in the country. So the National Youth Policy of the government was launched in 2014, and there are various government programs for youth in India, and which can form a base for our financial literacy efforts. So I went through the gamut of things that are getting done through various agencies of the department ministries, and I could identify at least 15 such initiatives where I thought that regulators could in fact join forces, and so that we can use that multiplier effect Mr. Ghosh was emphasizing. Some of these 15 items which I could see, the schemes which I could see, I would like to mention a few. There are Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangatans. It's one of the largest youth organizations in the world, and it has about 8.5 million youth enrolled in it. So can we not try to do something through them? Whether we can use that as a platform to further financial literacy. There are around 3.01 lakh youth clubs and Mahila Mandals. And these Nehru Yuva Kendras are present in 623 districts. And they have certain objectives which they pursue, and then I think aligning of financial literacy into those objectives looks very probable. In fact, they are working on national building activities, including literacy, education, health, family welfare. So I think financial literacy will very well fit into those objectives, and we could use that as a platform to reach out. The National Service Scheme, the NSS, is also a very good youth forum, and they do voluntary community service. In fact, our Bhopal office had come up with this idea that in fact when they broached this subject to the National Service Scheme being run in that state, they were more than eager to take up this task. And all they requested was to have some training for their cadets, who can in turn then pass on the message when they do community service and conduct camps and things like that. So, and when I see this, they have around 36 lakh volunteers and spread over 351 universities and 60,000 colleges, 12,000 senior secondary schools. And through this we may be able to cover 4.6 crore students. So this is also a very good way we could reach out. And then the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute for Youth Development. This is a deemed university and it's a vital resource center for conducting training, capacity building programs in the area of youth development. Can we not reach out to that and try to see how this financially this can get integrated into their training programs and capacity building initiatives. We have around 83 youth hostels the government has made. Maybe while 83 is a small number, but then there are youth hostels where a lot of youth keep visiting these, using these facilities. Maybe we can put in posters, pamphlets and things like that in these youth hostels, so that that can serve as a good place to reach out to the youth. And then we have the scouting and guiding organizations, and their activities relate to adult literacy, environmental conservation, and this could be part of their mandate as well. And I think they'll be glad to do that. And the National Rural Livelihood Mission of the government. This has spread across now to almost all districts and the majority of the blocks. And they work with self-help groups. And they also have a training initiative to train SLGs. So, if we tie up with this mission, and then we will be able to serve a very large base of people. And then we have the rural entrepreneurship development through RCTs. And then it's a very basic necessity that these young entrepreneurs who are trying to start small businesses, financial literacy will be very core to their survival rather, and how they will manage their small business. There are many more which I think I just recounted maybe 8 or 10, and there are some more. And so I see a very good opportunity to leverage on all these agencies and take financial literacy forward for the youth. As any developing country, we are also witnessing large migration of youth to cities, both in search of jobs and higher education. And recent initiatives for education, like the Vidyalakshmi portal for education loans for students, I think we need to actually popularize these so that people can take benefit out of these schemes, and through them we can try to put in this concept of mutual fund, term insurance, and NPS, so that they are in a better position to take some financial decisions when they hit the job market. In fact, financial literacy at the workplace is another avenue where we can target such group, the youth, in their first steps towards getting a job. As Mr. Ghosh pointed out, the first paycheck, whether if we can popularize this among various organizations, various corporates, and whether they can take this up as an initiative to address those who are joining the workforce in the initial years, so that then they get at the right time they get the right message of how to save for a lifetime. Then this can help empower the working population And not only, and what I feel is that recently we had this OECD conference in New Delhi, OECD NCFE conference, where we could share experiences across the globe, because around 40-45 countries participated. And there, and through sharing our experiences, we saw that a lot of European countries have developed technological solutions for like budget calculator, mortgage calculator. There are a lot of tools which can easily help the youth to get to know more and actually implement these things. And all these things can empower the working youth population, particularly the white collar workforce, to take sound financial decisions. In fact, even the blue collar workforce in today's time are quite tech savvy. With the advent of mobile phones, I think they are able to grasp faster the technology. The informal sector is also trying to stand on its own, and then many are trying to become first-time entrepreneurs, and they face the twin challenge of both access to finance as well as financial literacy. So portals such as the Uddimi Mitra portal, which has been put in place by SIDBI, if promoted extensively, can create awareness among this target group. It's no denying the fact that youth are the ones who will spearhead the digital push in the economy. They are at the forefront of using digital technology, and therefore financial literacy content for use of digital means is very important. And then mass media is one thing which can play an important role reaching out across socio-cultural settings. And it can be a very effective tool to influence behavior. Youth as a target group are more tuned to this channel and can be reached out effectively. And recently NCFE has also created some audio visuals to drive home the message of financial literacy across various target groups. And we have shared these videos to bank branches. We have asked the financial literacy centers to use them to impart financial literacy. In fact, these are more effective than conducting camps. It is quite possible that the financial literacy counselors are not very good in delivering the message, because they also need to be trained, they should be good in communication. There are so many issues involved in training the trainers and all that. Whereas this audiovisual tool, in fact, they just need to play at gatherings, even small gatherings of 10 to 20. What we have done is that through the Financial Inclusion Fund of NABARD, we had asked banks, they are funding handheld projectors for rural branches. In fact, they can use this media and play them through these handheld audio projectors, and they can project it on any wall, and easily 15 to 20 people can sit around and then get to know things. And going through an audio visual will be easy to drive home a message. And in fact, the recall value is more when we do an audio visual. And RBI has also been trying to plan mass awareness campaigns. And I think many of you would have seen some SMS campaign from RBI. It comes as RBI Say. And we are able to reach out to 50 crore people through each message. And we will be doing sending a lot of messages, awareness messages through this medium. And it's a very good way to warn people of the pitfalls and what to avoid and things like that. In addition to this, we are also drawing up a media plan to convey messages on benefits of compounding, credit discipline, KYC, grievance redressal, information on portals like Vidyalakshmi, Uddimi Mitra, Sachet. And we also plan to use television as a medium, radios, outdoor media, both railway stations, bus stops, and we have a very big plan to do a media campaign. And the media campaign will be more effective on youth, since they are more attuned to the media and they can absorb this medium very fast. So, what I wanted to say was that it may not be possible for us, even all the regulators put together, along with the NCFE, to create a separate superstructure just to address the youth. But through leveraging on the existing infrastructure, existing institutions, schemes of the government, I think it would be ideal to use them as a springboard to further financial literacy among the youth. And sustained media campaigns targeting the youth can also supplement our efforts in this direction. I would like to conclude at this stage, and I would like to compliment NCFE for arranging this policy forum, which helps us in taking stock of what we have been doing, get to know newer things today and tomorrow, of things happening around us. We'll be able to bounce thoughts on each other, new thoughts, and generally exchange ideas. And I hope this will help us in planning the way how we take things forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Srinivasan. That was a really deep insight on what can be done for the youths and the variety of things which already exist and possibly require some effort for us to look at them. One thing which he mentioned, and I fully agree with it, that this audiovisual recall is unimaginable. So in 1975 there was a film, Diva. It had one very popular dialogue, and what was that? Mere paas maa hai, everybody remembers, from 1975, and it's a long time. So that is the advantage of this recall which Srinivasan was talking. And today these handheld projectors are this small. You can carry it with you, put it on any wall with a plug-in, and when I say
Battery operated, you have battery operated.
you can also run with battery operated, which are slightly more expensive. But if you, I'm presuming we have some sort of power. We are growing in that area. Raigad has been a challenge, but we are very lucky to be here on this 70-acre sprawling campus.